How much time do you waste every day? It's a good question. The fact is that all of us waste some or a lot, even if we don't think that we do. You might be one of those people who runs from one thing to another all day long. You would say that you don't waste a moment because you don't have a moment to waste. Lots of people have a claim on your time, and meeting their needs fills your day from the moment you get up in the morning until you crash into bed at night. But to think of it like that is to misunderstand what it means to waste time. Let's ask a different question. Let's ask what it means to waste time. What does it mean? How do you know whether or not you're wasting time? Does it mean that if you're not productive, then you're wasting time? If that's an accurate answer, then it means that sleeping is a waste of time, that showering or exercising or eating are all a waste of time. You could argue that those things enable you to be productive, but in and of themselves, they're not productive. There's more to productivity than simply checking off items on your to-do list. In fact, if that's your definition, then you're overlooking a large part of your day. And that's because of a well-known principle called 80-20. The 80-20 principle, as you know, is about inputs and outputs. When it comes to time, it says that you'll accomplish 4 times as much in a fifth of the time available to you. That in just 20% of your time, you'll complete 80% of what you set out to do. If this is true, then you have to ask yourself why it is that it takes you so long to accomplish so little. That's the other side of the principle. That is, if it only takes 20% of your time to produce 80% of your results, then why does it take the remaining 80% of your time to obtain 20% of the outcomes that are left? It really doesn't matter what you're working on. The principle holds true. In fact, that ratio could be even more extreme. It could be that you accomplished 95% of what you set out to do in just 5% of your time. And that may seem a bit extreme, so let's just stick with 80-20. 20% of a 40-hour work week is 8 hours, one work day. Why does it take you the other 4 days to accomplish so little? On average, you accomplish 80% of what you achieve in an entire week in a single day, but then only accomplish a meager 5% on each of the other 4 days in the week. Is it really that bad? Yes and no. There's no question that the principle holds, but it's not as simple as it seems. For one thing, you're not capable of being productive for 8 hours in a day. Cal Newport, in his book Deep Work, says that 4 to 5 hours of cognitively demanding work is about as much as you can expect in a day. And so by definition, most of your day will be less productive. Productivity is relative, depends on how you define it. There are things that you have to do every day, and that if you neglect them, then they eventually could cause you other problems. But it's unlikely that these things will show up on your to-do list, or if they do, to be considered part of your productivity equation. On the other hand, simply being busy doesn't mean that you're productive. For example, you could visit every coffee shop in the vicinity. Depending upon where you live, you could be very busy, but not very productive. You wouldn't produce anything of value as a result. Of course, only you can decide what constitutes productivity for you. That's why you can't compare yourself to others. Perhaps your day consists of taking the kids to school, shopping, doing the laundry, cleaning out the garage, picking the kids up after school, helping them with their homework, making dinner, etc., before putting them to bed and then relaxing for a few minutes yourself. All those things have to be done, and that you fill your days with them does not make you unproductive. Let's think about productivity some more. What does it mean? Productivity means that you do what you set out to do. I mentioned earlier that your to-do list probably doesn't contain everything that you intend to do. It may have only the most important things on it, the big projects. You decided that the errands that you also had to run didn't count. If productivity is defined as doing everything you set out to do and you do it all, Does that mean that the 80-20 principle is wrong? No. The reason, according to Richard Koch, author of the international bestseller, The 80-20 Principle, is that you have to look at it in terms of the total time. Total time might be days, weeks, months, years, or even a lifetime. But the time when your greatest output occurs isn't all at once. It's interspersed with a lot of time when you're not. And it's only when you look at it all together that this becomes apparent. And it doesn't end there. Quite often, you'll find that it's during periods of unproductive time when you get your best ideas for what to do when you are. That then begs the question, is what we consider to be unproductive time actually unproductive? It goes back to what we asked earlier. What does it mean to be productive? And to answer that, we have to go back to Koch. He says that the point of 80-20 is not to better manage your time. It's not to fit a quart into a pint-sized jar. Instead, it's about producing faster. In other words, the goal isn't to do more. Instead, it's to do what you have in less time. The fallacy that all of us suffer from is the idea that we should be able to pack more into our days as a result. Koch says that this is not the case and states it very plainly in the subtitle to his book, The Secret to Achieving More with Less. It's not achieving more with more, achieving more things in the time that we've recovered from elsewhere. It's not about optimizing your time so that you can do more. Instead, it's about being more efficient with the time you have so that you can work faster and accomplish what you set out to do in less time. Here's an interesting example. Quite often, you'll encounter university students who never seem to study or who apparently study very little, yet they get straight A's. Are they just smarter than everyone else? As this has been observed at institutions such as Oxford and Cambridge, that seems unlikely. The reason, it turns out, the reason they have so much time to devote to their social life, for instance, is because they've learned how to optimize their study time. They don't try to pack in more studying. Instead, they optimize their study time so that it takes less of it to achieve the results that they want. In other words, they make better use of the time they have than most people do. Koch says that the most productive time on any project is the last 20% because it has an unmovable deadline. There's probably another reason too, and that is because you're more familiar with what to do and how to do it than you were at the beginning. That means that you may not be able to make as efficient use of your time when you first start a project. And that's how productivity should be defined. It's the efficient use of the time you have. You waste time when you fail to do that. It's not about completing everything on your list. Instead, it's about using what you have in what Koch calls high-quality ways. He says that you must separate the idea that effort and reward are directly proportional, that the harder you work, the greater your rewards will be. Greater rewards, according to Koch, come from making better use of the time rather than by how much effort you exert during it. Hard work, he says, leads to low returns. It's insight and doing what you want that leads to high returns. What are some examples of low return or low value activities? Koch mentions 10, which include things such as what other people want you to do, things that you're not good at, and things that you don't like to do. What are some examples of high return or high value activities? Again, Koch lists 10. Among them, things that advance your overall purpose in life, things you've always wanted to do, and things that already give you the biggest results, the 80% in exchange for 20% of your time. Your goal then is to increase the time you spend on high value activities, up to 100%. That is, to spend all of your time on them, not so that you can pack a quart-sized life into a pint-sized schedule, but so that you can have a life that is more fulfilling to you. And this is accomplished only by removing the things that you don't want to do and spending more time on the things that you do want to do. It could be that you don't think that you have the flexibility to do this, and you may be right at the moment. But it's what you should aim for, because if you don't, then you'll just continue to waste most of the time that you've been given. If you found this video helpful, then give me a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. And if you'd like to learn more about how to use psychological principles to improve your life or your business, then get my free ebook, The Importance of Why. The link is in the description. I'm Dr. Bruce Hoag.